Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, how's your 401k looking today? We'll discuss the tariff trade war that seems to be heating up. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
It's seeming to be more and more and more. It's Washington State versus Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. versus everybody except for Washington State. We see that Washington, D.C. said to Columbia, said to Harvard, hey, you better clean things up or else, and then acted on it. Not UW yet. I know it takes time, but it almost seems like Washington State is the meme, where it's the stick figure holding the stick, poking whatever it is in the bottom corner, going, do something, do something, do something to the Trump administration. It seems like Nick Brown and Bob Ferguson want the challenge. Nick Brown says, if I do what Bob Ferguson did, I get to be governor one day. And Bob Ferguson thinks to himself, well, this got me into the governor's mansion with all the lefties in Seattle, in Pierce County, and everywhere else, in Olympia. So if I do this, maybe, that'll put me in the White House or the AG of the United States or whatever the case may be. Everything they do, they hop on every lawsuit, they file new lawsuits, whatever the case may be. But I'll ask you, is anything that they are doing, Nick Brown, Bob Ferguson, anything that they're doing, making life better for Washingtonians? Bob Ferguson surprised all of us this week by saying he's not going to sign the huge tax increases that the Democrats have coming in the Washington legislature. But let's be real about that for a second. That is a temporary reprieve. He said he didn't want the wealth tax. Well, the property tax, that basically any county can triple your property taxes overnight if they wanted to from year to year without you doing anything about it, is far more devastating. The gas tax, far more devastating. Bob Ferguson's trying to protect the people who he wants to put him in office again one day. So that's a temporary reprieve. He's going to sign something, and they're playing this good cop, bad cop, where the legislature's the bad cop, and he's the good cop, so they get to say, look, here's what's going to happen. Bob Ferguson's going to come out, and he's going to have a joint press conference. And the joint press conference will be with Jamie Peterson and Lori Jenkins, and they'll all come out and say, well, we got together, and for the Washingtonians, look, we have to make cuts, and cuts are hard, but also everybody's got to sacrifice, so we have to raise revenue, meaning taxes. Well, we didn't make this budget disaster. You did. You pay off the $15 billion budget deficit. So, Washington State is ripe for everything the Trump administration is doing. But it seems like the Trump administration is probably thinking to themselves, do we get the PR we want out of Washington State? Do we get the fight we want out of Washington State? Or are they thinking, if we take down Columbia, if we take down Harvard, if we take down Maine, Maine? Why are you going after Maine? We're in the other country, a quarter of the country. Come after us, please. I know they're setting up U.S. attorneys all over the country, but come on, guys, we need one here. We need your help. We're desperate for your help. We need the help of the Trump administration. So I see these headlines of what the Trump administration is doing, and I think to myself, when are you going to do it here? Can you do it here? So that's why I got so excited the other day when the House Judiciary Committee said they're telling Nick Brown, preserve documents. We're coming to look into what you're doing with illegal immigration. Well, today, according to Fox News, the Trump administration launched a new investigative unit to protect female athletes from pernicious efforts of gender ideology in school programs and activities, further clamping down on men who are competing in women's sports. Now, I'm thinking to myself, can you come here right away? Can we do this right now? Because let's not forget what they announced just a day or two ago. The Washington agency that is in charge of sports for Washington, the WIAA, the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, said that they're going to keep men in women's sports because they were threatened by Nick Brown and by creepy Chris Rakedahl. Washington state law currently requires educational agencies to allow students to participate in interscholastic sports that most closely align with their gender identity. Can we be real about this for a second? If that is what you're actually going by, just because you grow your hair long or anything else does not make you the opposite gender. Your DNA dictates that. The WIAA previously announced that it had proposed 2 bylaw amendments that would limit participants in girls' sports to students who are born as females and prevent students who were born male and now identify as female from competing in girls' sports following multiple headline-grabbing victories by boys in Washington competing in girls' events. One of the amendments would have created a girls' division and an open division. In the open division, all students could participate, which means boys and boys who identify as girls, regardless of their gender identity, match the sex they were born with. And for that matter, it could be girls who identify as boys. While the other amendment proposed the creation of a boys division, a girls division, and an open division, which I believe would have been the best way to go. Actually, I think there should be 4 divisions. It should be boys division, girls division, boys who identify as girls, girls who identify as boys. But then again, we have other things to discuss if we go down that road. On Tuesday, WIAA Commutations Director Sean Bissett said in a statement to the Seattle Times that he had been told by the state's Attorney General Nick Brown and Superintendent of Public Instruction Chris Rakedahl, both Democrats, as well as the state's Office for Civil Rights, that proposals would violate state law. Bissett told the outlet that WIAA had been told by the Attorney General's Office, the Office for Civil Rights, and the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction that the amendments would be a violation under current Washington state law, affirming our attorney's legal review. So basically what you're saying is they threatened you. They said, if you do this, it's going to be a legal problem, and we're going to take care of it. Look, a lot of you sent us the letters that different school districts had gotten from Chris Rakedahl, that other schools had gotten from Chris Rakedahl. If you ban boys from girls' sports, we're going to cut your funding. So it was threats. It was threats. In May, a biological male won the state girls' 400-meter race by over a full second, leading the East Valley girls track team from Spokane to a state championship. The following month, the losing team's coach spoke out against the state rules that allow biological males to compete in female-designated sports, telling the Independent Women's Forum that his team would have won the state championship if it were not for the inclusion of male athletes. Last month, do you remember the crazy quotes that Rakedahl has had over the last month? It's been thing after thing after thing with this guy. How many insane things has this guy said? You guys know what it is. Every single thing he has said. He's pushing gender ideology, you name it. He said it was inaccurate to say biologically there are only boys and girls. What kind of science are you studying? Rakedahl, the day after Trump signed the Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports order, claimed the executive order directly contradicts state law and requires educational institutions to agree to discriminate against trans athletes in order to continue receiving federal funds. The 47th President of the United States is disregarding the rule of law by attempting to unilaterally impose an attack on the specific student groups that the anti-discrimination laws aim to protect. He says, our state law prohibits discrimination on the basis of gender identity, and we will not back down from that. He says Washington state will do everything in our power to defend the rule of law, states' rights, to establish educational policy, and to protect the beautiful diversity of our 1.1 million students and educators, except for Jews. Oh, I added that part. We believe in inclusion over discrimination and love over hate. Really? Really? Give me a break, man. No, you're pushing your radical gender ideology. That's what it is. And you know what? They know what the Trump administration can do to them. What is the number one complaint we get here anytime I say how you vote matters? What lights up my phone lines? What lights up the text line anytime I say it? You always say, well, voting here, it's rigged. Mail-in voting, it's rigged. Okay. So what did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump said, we're going to do something about that. We want voter ID, and voter ID is overwhelmingly popular. Look what just happened in Wisconsin. I've told the story at least a dozen times of how my son registered to vote with never, ever, ever showing any form of ID. Well, now, today, Washington Attorney General Nick Brown, according to the Seattle Times, filed a lawsuit against President Donald Trump's attempt to alter election procedures. Notice how the Seattle Times says that. Alter election procedures. You mean by insisting that everybody's a citizen? We literally had people who were non-citizens who were voting in our elections here in Washington, and nobody wanted to prosecute it. Google it. You will find it. You can find it anywhere. It's something easy to spot, easy to find. They found illegal immigrants who were registered to vote, who did vote. Now, mind you, it was like a dozen of them, 8 or a dozen. I forget what it was. It was a small number like that. But that was a symbol of a bigger problem. And what happens? Nick Brown is now filing because he doesn't want everybody to be citizens who are voting. That's what it is. They're mad about the executive order Donald Trump signed last week, which required people to provide documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote, and by mail-in ballots to be received by elections offices no later than Election Day. Ask yourselves why anybody would fight that. The only reason you would fight that is if you want non-citizens voting and you want to have what we have here in Washington, where after an election is over, these ballots keep showing up and showing up and showing up. And you should ask yourselves why anybody would be against that. And you know, the Democrats had an opportunity here. They could have said, we know our elections are perfectly fine. Fine. These are your two big claims. We'll go along with them. But you should be asking yourselves why they're objecting so hard to them. Why they're objecting so much to them. And my belief is that they're giving away the game. They're giving away what's wrong with our election system right now. Oh, that's not it. We got more of this. Now, Nick Brown is also part of a multi-state lawsuit against the Trump administration, challenging its quote-unquote alleged unlawful disruption of grant funding from the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you remember when Bob Ferguson came out and he announced all those cuts? And one of the things he announced were warehouses we were paying for that we needed during the COVID era that we didn't need anymore. Do you know what Donald Trump cut from the NIH here in Washington? All the COVID era stuff. We don't need that anymore, but we're still paying for it. If these guys really want to be bipartisan, they would come out and say, yeah, the president's right. That's COVID era stuff. We don't need it. But basically, this gives away they want the money for whatever else the NIH is giving its money towards. They want whatever that is going for. That's what they want, which is insane. Absolutely insane. It's giving away what they are actually up to. Oh, there's a better one here. You ready for this one? The Attorney General's office filed a lawsuit in King County Superior Court against software company RealPage and 9 local landlords, accusing them of engaging in a conspiracy that has messed with rent prices. They call it a rent price fixing conspiracy. So hang on a second. If the Washington legislature fixes prices and they call it rent control, you have no problem with that. But if these guys have a price fixing conspiracy and they raise their rents, you got an issue with that. Guys, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. Do I think these companies should have been ripping people off? No, of course not. But not seeing the forest for the trees here. Literally, you guys are suing over the same thing that the Washington legislature and Bob Ferguson are about to pass. So it's okay when the government does it. It's just not okay when private industry does it. You guys have private industry like Microsoft, Amazon, Boeing, all these companies telling you they're going to leave town if you pass this massive corporate tax on them. They're telling you what's going to happen, and yet you're going forward with it anyway. I ask you, is anything the Democrats are doing in Washington state making anybody's lives better, except for a small fringe group of progressives that don't know which bathroom to use? This is getting more and more frustrating because it's almost like there's a hurricane going on. And you're saying, I need help, we need help, we need help, we need help, and no ship's coming. Now, we think the Trump administration, they added University of Washington, for example, to certain lists. They passed this thing today where they say we're going after the people who break our rules with regard to men being in women's sports. And I know the government takes a while to get going. It's like a freight train. But it kind of feels a little bit like we're getting left behind. I'm getting a little frustrated at this point. I know they can't fight everywhere at once, but give us something. Give us a U.S. attorney out here, somebody we know, somebody high profile. It seems like the high profile ones are going to other places, and I'm not saying they're not needed. But something that is so frustrating to me is that as a conservative, I am begging for federal intervention. And we say it all the time because, unfortunately, it's the only way things are going to get better around here. Unless the Trump administration wins the case with regard to the voting, your voting system ain't going to even move a step in the right direction around here. Even Oregon looked at their voting system and said, well, we got over 1,000 illegal immigrants, illegally registered to vote. We got a problem. We got to clean that up. Here they go. We need more of them. We need more of them. Where can we get them from? Bring them across the northern border. We'll take them here. It's thing after thing after thing. When they say, believe all women, women's rights. Patty Murray was posting about women the other day. Really, give me a break. Did you weigh in on the fact that women's sports are being invaded by men in your home state? These guys are so out of touch. Jay Inslee had some stupid post today where he was talking about Trump's tariffs and what they're doing to people's bank accounts and affordability. You said you wouldn't tax anything when you ran for governor the first time, and you taxed everything. Your Climate Commitment Act finished off the things you hadn't taxed yet, and it's only getting worse and worse and worse. And the Democrats in Washington state are looking to tax all the things you didn't get around to taxing in your 3 terms as our governor. The tone deafness. Or is it something else? Is it the dare you, dare you, dare you? Because they're thinking there's no such thing as bad PR. What happened in the 1990s when they slapped parental advisory labels on albums? We went and got them. Oh, there's a parental advisory? We should go get these as soon as possible. Democrats who want more power, who want U.S.-wide offices, who want countrywide offices, who want to be president of the United States or want to be attorney general or want to be anything else, they think to themselves, we need donors, and we need donors outside of Washington. How can we get them? Get our name in the news. Get our name in the news. Become a big figure. They also see that there's nobody in the National Democratic Party. What, Pete Buttigieg? Give me a break. Gavin Newsom, you hold up that guy's record, you're in trouble. So everybody's thinking, everybody in the Democrat side is thinking, this is our moment. This is the moment we got. How can we make national headlines for ourselves? It's all about money. It's all about power. That's what's going on. And my plea to the Trump administration is don't leave us behind here in Washington. Because I got to say, at this point, it's getting a little frustrating. I know it hasn't even been 100 days yet. I know it hasn't even been 100 days yet. But at the same time, it's getting frustrating because it seems like we're picking fights with everybody else from Washington, D.C. to every other state, but not us. Are they thinking the West Coast isn't worth the effort? Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let me know why you think they haven't gotten to us yet. Or do you say, Ari, have patience. Patience, donkey, patience. Do you think that's what it is? Is it just because there's been so much news and I feel like 3 years have passed since Donald Trump got elected? But you see that the Democrats here in Washington are moving with the same speed as Donald Trump to counter everything that he's doing. And this legislative cycle, they're about to double down on all their crazy and make everything worse around here. Question is, how long until it's too far and we're not going to be able to bring it back? What happens if Amazon leaves? What happens if Microsoft leaves? What happens if Boeing leaves? What happens if all these companies leave? Oh, we fixed it. We repealed the tax. Great. Who's left? Who's left? That's what I'm worried about. Is help going to get here in time? Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friend. A local business out in West Seattle has to close its doors for good, and it's not because of crime. It's because of Democrat stupidity. We'll tell you what happened when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570, KVI. Back in my previous life, every year when I was running the youth organization around here, our big kickoff event was always at Alki Beach. We would have barbecue, we'd play volleyball, even dared some kids to do the polar bear plunge. It was always a lot of fun. My knowledge of West Seattle comes from running that event every year. Unfortunately, I don't get to West Seattle often enough. I love West Seattle. Or I should say I loved West Seattle. It always reminded me of a beach town. West Seattle and Ballard are two of my favorite places until the homeless and all the crime destroyed some of these areas. But I really do love West Seattle, and I really do love Ballard. I love it. It makes me feel like I'm on vacation in my own city. So Duke's Seafood, which was right there on Alki Avenue, right there, they're closing. They're closing for good. They closed for good yesterday. And this popped up on my social media feed. And here's what they wrote. Listen very, very carefully. This is what they wrote on their Facebook. I'm not putting words in their mouth. They literally said it themselves. It is with a heavy heart we share that we have sold and closed Duke's Seafood on Alki, effective this morning. By the way, I'm kind of sad they never reached out. I would have loved to help keep them in business. Always smelled good when I walked by. I mean, I don't know if it was good. You can tell me if you think it was good on the text line, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. But I feel bad. I wish they had asked for some help. Our Alki location has been a vibrant part of West Seattle community for almost 25 years, with 2 levels of dining, 2 outdoor patios, offering iconic views of Alki Beach and Puget Sound. As with many other businesses in West Seattle, Duke's Alki has struggled to recover post-pandemic, and with the lengthy West Seattle Bridge closure, 30 months, forcing us to miss 3 full summers. This really resonated with me as well, because they have other locations. After 2 years of my business not being able to operate, that's when I closed it and made the transition on over to media. Because you can't have an event rental company when nobody's having events because the government has you shut down. How many times did we discuss the disaster with the West Seattle Bridge? The Seattle Department of Transportation, the Washington Department of Transportation, government officials at every single level. This was a group failure, and who runs our government? This was a Democrat failure. You didn't put the money into the bridge you needed to do. You never did the maintenance on the bridge you needed to do. Instead, you were spending $11 million a mile on bike lanes. The night of my daughter's bat mitzvah, we brought in a party pumper type to blow out the dancing with the girls and DJ the thing. It was an all-girls bat mitzvah party. Okay. So what happened is I had to drive her back to West Seattle, and the bridge was closed. My God, getting from Seward Park to West Seattle when that was going on, and there was something else was shut down that night, it took me an hour to get from Seward Park to West Seattle, a drive that used to take me maybe 15 minutes on the outside when there's no traffic. It was absolutely insane. I can only imagine what people are going to, and they're going, why should I go through this? For 3 years, you had this nonsense. 3 years. Because the Seattle Department of Transportation is a disaster. The Washington Department of Transportation is a disaster. Government officials did not care. And then when this thing was shut down, you would think when nobody's driving, oh, we should go fix this thing. But no, let's make sure we build the train that still isn't running on I-90. And I know that's Sound Transit versus these guys. But once again, priorities, people. Let's make sure we build the sports stadium. Let's make sure we build everything else rather than save these people in West Seattle. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This business didn't close because of crime, and we know there's issues in West Seattle. They closed because the government screwed them. The government completely screwed them, by the way. This only gets worse and worse and worse. They have other locations. They have other places, and they had to close this one because of government stupidity. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from John in Lakewood. John, what's up, man?
Yeah. Ari, I'm as frustrated as you are. You were talking about these three taxes. I mean, you talked about a lot of stuff, but here's what I want to say. First of all, Jay Inslee doesn't want to sign that wealth tax on the 4,300 because he'd be biting the hand.
Sure, Jay Inslee wants to sign that, but he's not in office anymore. You mean Bob Ferguson?
I mean, pardon me. He will sign that. He will sign. Let me start over. Ferguson, I'm so wound up right now. Ferguson doesn't want to sign it because he will be biting the hand that feeds him. If he doesn't, I mean, okay, if they get taxed, they're going to leave. They said, you heard Nick Cantor, you're going to drive us out of here. He doesn't want that because they are going to fund the Democrat campaigns and fund his campaign.
Exactly.
So he's going to not let them get taxed. These businesses don't care if there's an internal head tax or whatever you want to call it, because I think they're just going to shift that cost onto us and the rest of the country and every customer they have. They'll spread that cost out. Well, of course.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. We're going to be left holding the bag. When these companies leave, when the millionaires and billionaires leave, they're going to say, well, we still don't have enough money. We're going to tax you. For example, we've only discussed what's happening in Olympia because it's the legislative session right now. But Seattle is now facing a $300 million budget shortfall, and that was made $47 million worse, taking it up from 250 to technically 259. Why? Wow. 57. Why? Because of the $47 million they came up short in the original tax on jobs. And now they're considering doing it statewide. So what are they going to do? Well, we all got to bite the bullet and we all got to pitch in together because of their reckless spending, because they won't audit Homeless Inc. They're going to tax us for it. Just wait. John, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This story caught my attention. All the mainstream media outlets are covering this story wrong. So they keep talking about the hookah lounge shooting. That was a couple days ago, the hookah lounge shooting. And I said, something doesn't smell right about this. I want to get all the details. So court documents show the alleged killer, Leonti Berry, was on probation for federal gun charges. At the time of the deadly shooting, has previously worked as a case manager for a youth diversion program called Community Passageways. You mean this is one of the guys who says, don't send those young gangbangers to jail. Instead, we're going to divert them? Hey, he had federal gun charges. How'd he get a gun? This is crazy. He's facing multiple charges for homicide. Oh, also, he's a former King County homeless outreach worker. He was not just on federal gun charges, federal gun trafficking charges. Well, it sounds like Bob Ferguson's gun control laws are really working out real well. Jonathan Cho found a 2020 interview where he talks about his ties to a homeless nonprofit co-lead in Community Passageways, a controversial diversion program for criminals. He said he was turning his life around after running the streets with gangbangers. Didn't we hear that from the street czar? You know, the pimp that they hired to be a street czar? Didn't we hear that about their buddy Percy who got arrested a few weeks ago? The guy who used to talk about sentencing reform? Every single one of these guys is grifting off the system, and the Democrats are all for it. Every single one. We find out more and more. Every time it's always something like this. I knew something didn't sound right. And then what are they talking about? Oh, we need to shut down the hours of these hookah lounges. No! You're putting these criminals in power. You're letting them make a salary off the taxpayer. And you're surprised when the criminals have criminal enterprises. You're surprised when the criminals commit crimes. Democrat insanity. Democrat policies. That is what has led to all of this. When we come back, my friends, speaking of policies, this time it's President Trump's policies. I don't know if you've looked at your 401k today or the stock market. It's not good, but there is good news at the same time. Let's talk about it if you're still all in on this tariff policy when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Did what happened on Wall Street today shake your confidence in the tariff plan? Well, there's good news and there's bad news. Now, one of the narratives the Democrats love to say anytime you bring up how racist they are is always, what are you talking about? We freed the slaves. And I go, wait, what? Republicans freed the slaves. No, the party switched. I'm like, what are you talking about? The party's just switched? We're kind of watching something of that right now where you have Republicans supporting tariff policies and Democrats deriding the policies. Now, do I think any of them have actually changed their positions? No, but one's backing their president and the other ones are going, well, we hate that guy, so we're going against it. I think Democrats still like unions. I think Republicans are just saying, hey, we actually want free trade. So can we do real free trade as opposed to this nonsense? Do we actually have a free market here? No, we don't have a free market. We have a market that's been messed with by government. Now, there was good news today on Wall Street. And it's fascinating to me how if this has come out during the Biden administration, oh, wait, it did a bunch of times. The jobs report, the jobs report, the jobs report. I had this argument with Batya Ungar-Sargon all the time. I said, the jobs reports are always the federal government hiring people. So this is a fake economic indicator because the jobs report should be going down, and that means we're actually in a recession during the Biden years. But the jobs kept going up, 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 until all of a sudden what would happen? The Biden administration would come along and revise them later, down, 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 down. And they were always hiring tons of government workers. It wasn't the government creating jobs. It was private industry creating jobs, but not as many as they would. Now, the jobs report that came out today was huge. Good news, big good news, because these aren't jobs being created by the government. I was worried about this. Mike and I were talking about this a while ago. When we were talking about Donald Trump firing all these workers. We're saying, what are the unemployment numbers going to be because all these federal government people are getting laid off? Well, guess what? They had to go find jobs. And here's what happened in private industry. Here's CNBC.
This is a big March jobs report. Non-farm payrolls beats estimates, 228,000 jobs. That would be the strongest this year, and it would comp to 323,000 indices of last year.
So that's huge because we are ramping up American jobs. We are ramping up American production. That's what we're doing right now. Now, the Labor Secretary, Lori Chavez, was also on CNBC. Why am I picking CNBC? Because they're not exactly my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy.
I can tell you this, right now, what we're seeing was positive. We blew it out of the water. Even all the economists that looked at this thought we were going to have a depressed jobs report, and we didn't. So that's a testament to the president, the economic output that he is doing. Look at the Rose Garden that we had the other day. Who was in the audience? It was all the American workers. We had our Teamsters there. We had our United Auto Workers there. We're seeing those investments pay off, and I would expect that to continue.
Yeah, that's what is going on. We're getting these jobs back, which is huge news. How do I know this? Who are the people we're talking about? Fox News was interviewing a shrimper out in Mississippi. I didn't know that's what you called. I just thought they were a fisherman. I didn't know the term was shrimper. I've never had shrimp in my life, so I don't have a frame of reference for that. Where's Bubba Gump when you need him?
I'm sorry, shrimper.
Oh no. Boo. Exactly. Anyway, here's what the Mississippi shrimper told Fox News.
The shrimpers here like tariffs because they say they will save their jobs and save their entire industry. We have to remember that more than 90% of shrimp consumed in the United States is imported from overseas, and the American shrimpers say they just can't compete. Let's bring in Leanne Bosarge, who is the fifth generation of her family to be involved in the commercial fishing industry. Leanne, what would happen to American shrimping without tariffs?
Well, the U.S. domestic shrimp industry has been on a downward trajectory for decades now as a direct result of the unfair trade in the overseas aquaculture industry for growing shrimp overseas. And these tariffs threw us the lifeline that we needed to hopefully live to fight another day in our industry in this country.
By the way, anybody else here a big Billy Joel fan? I'm a huge Billy Joel fan. You know the song Down Eastern Alexa about his father, the fisherman? Do you know what that's about? I will tell you. It's about the Long Island Sound in New York, and it's about where there used to be the lobster industry. It all got killed off for multiple reasons, and the industry was basically destroyed. Billy Joel originally did that song because he was trying to help do something for the industry. It's a great song. It's a great song. But I think that later on it got more notoriety, more attention. Originally, when it first came out, people kind of ignored it because they assumed it was some social kind of change song or something. It's a great song. It's a great, great song. The fishing industry has been devastated in different parts of the country for many different reasons. But a lot of it had to do with a lot of these trade agreements. How about the auto industry? Let's talk about Ford for a minute, shall we?
Can Ford produce a car 100% made in the United States?
Well, hello, Stuart. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You know, Ford is America's #1 auto manufacturer, and we assemble more U.S. vehicles, and we employ more U.S. hourly auto workers than any other OEM. And we want to do more, not less, here in the U.S. 80% of what we sell in the U.S. is assembled right here in the United States. And it would be helpful to have certain parts here in the U.S., and the White House gets that. So, yeah.
That's Ford's CEO. Now, with him, I take him with a grain of salt because this is the guy who shipped the jobs off to Mexico as soon as he could for the EV production. Let's not forget he did that for the Ford Lightning, the truck Joe Biden was trying to promote, that then people stopped buying the thing. This is Brian Paniker, a retired 25-year UAW member. Listen to what he said.
4 or 5 years to build an auto plant, not even close. There are idled plants. They closed an engine plant in Macomb County a couple of years ago. It's in Romeo, Michigan. You can check into it. It's sitting idle. It's like a vacant warehouse. They've stripped the old tooling out of there. It's ready for new tooling to be put in. They could have that plant up and running inside of 6 months. So I think you're being overly pessimistic when you start saying, 3, 4, 5 years. No, how about a year to 2 years on new plants and 6 months to a year on retooling existing idle plants? Look at what Stellantis just announced in Belvidere, Illinois. They had that idled plant. They probably weren't putting a new product in there if Kamala Harris got in. Why? Because they're going to phase out combustion engines. But all of a sudden, Trump gets elected, bang, they're putting a new pickup truck in there. So I'm very optimistic, very confident in President Trump's agenda.
You know what I saw Stellantis is doing also? We discussed this on the Good News giveaway a few weeks ago during our Good News headlines. We discussed how Stellantis, a.k.a. Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram. And don't forget to go visit my friends over at Renton Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram if you need a new vehicle. And if you need service, head on over there. That's where I get all my stuff done. That's who I buy my cars from. So they just announced that they're bringing back a V6 Charger. They're calling it the Charger 6-pack. And now they're coming out with a 4-door EV. And on top of that, they might even be bringing back the big engine cars you love. That's right. American production is ramping up again. But, hearing me say this, a lot of you were looking at your 401ks today. Does this shake your confidence? Or are you saying, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Johnny in Mill Creek. Johnny, what's up, man?
Shabbat Shalom on a beautiful Friday afternoon, my
Thank
friend.
you, sir. It is beautiful, isn't it? Yes. Shabbat Shalom to you as well. Yeah. What's going on, man?
Two things. One, just to hit your question, I am more confident than ever. This is going to be a V-shaped recovery, and I'm down a $500,000, by the way. It's going to come back once the hissy spits are over. That's point number one.
Mm-hmm. What's point number two?
Point number two, point number two, talking to Mike on it. So this job tax thing, I work for, to be unnamed, national corporation. What I'm sure other major corporations do is we have a different salary scale depending on what zone of the country you're in.
Sure.
So my zone is one of the highest paid zones in the country. So if you put a head tax on top of that, how many new positions are they going to create in Washington State?
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, let's go back to COVID for a second. You know what cost the tech sector a lot and why people went to other parts of the country is because they could get their high-paying jobs on a Seattle salary while working remotely anywhere else in the country. And a lot of people moved. And let's not forget, Amazon said, well, if we're moving to Bellevue anyway, where else can we move because that Seattle stupid spreads, and eventually they'll get to us before long. So let's open HQ2, HQ3, all these places elsewhere. And a lot of people in the tech sector actually moved out of the area. Johnny, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. The 425 writes in, patience, grasshopper. I like that. Very, very good. When we come back, my friends, the right is going ballistic over Amazon MGM's announcement about the new James Bond movie. And I think everybody may be going ballistic over nothing. I'll tell you what they're all upset about when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The right got their clickbait last night, and I fell for it, and a lot of other people did too. And what is it involving the new James Bond movie? So I'm going to read from Fox News to show you what they did, and then you understand the spin. James Bond new owner, Amazon MGM, has already started working out the details of a quote-unquote fresh, exotic new Bond that is sparking conversation online. So you're going to the internet trolls for your sources? Okay. Anybody here who's a real James Bond fan? What was the big pitch with the Daniel Craig movies when they first got Daniel Craig, and for the sequels? We're going to go to locations we've never been before. You're going to see new parts of the world. Look, I love the Pierce Brosnan movies, but a lot of the Pierce Brosnan movies look like they were made in a soundstage. They look like they were done in Pinewood Studios. They look like all the other James Bond movies that were done in Pinewood Studios. Oh, here's some establishing shots. Do-do-do-do, right? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, as the camera pans in or pans out. The difference was with Daniel Craig, it was, can we get out of the studio? Can we show off some new places around the world? People want the exotic travel, and they want something different. I really believe James Bond movies look the same from Sean Connery to Pierce Brosnan because they were all done at Pinewood Studios. And sure, the inside shots of MI6 or whatever were done there too during Daniel Craig. But when they say exotic and new, the right said, Jamie Bond is coming. Right, they're going to destroy James Bond. And I got to tell you, that's not what Fox News said. But they teed it up. And so did every other right-wing outlet for a second here. At CinemaCon, the annual convention for movie theater owners in Las Vegas, studio executives Courtney Valente and Sue Kroll shared a few details about the latest entry. Now, when you see these women, you go, if anybody's going to make a Jamie Bond, it's going to be them. But they haven't done it yet, guys. Here's what they actually said. We are committed to honoring the legacy of this iconic character while bringing a fresh, exotic new chapter to audiences around the world. Alongside producers Amy Pascal and David Heyman, they told audiences Wednesday night. They're both in London getting started, couldn't be here tonight, but we want to thank them for what we know will be an incredible partnership. That's all they said. They didn't say progressive new look, nothing. Exotic can just mean the places we're going. And that is literally what they were doing with Daniel Craig. Now, if you want to make the leap and say, well, this means Jamie Bond, I actually think Mike had this right a few weeks ago, the last time a James Bond story came up. I think they're not going to mess with James Bond itself, really. They'd be really dumb to do that. You don't want to sacrifice the billion-dollar franchise, especially when you see the majority of the U.S. going in the direction it's going in. I think Mike was 100% right when he said you're going to oversaturate it. We're going to have Jamie Bond, the spinoff. Or the Jinx movie. We'll finally get that movie with what's-her-face, with Halle Berry.
Old man Halle Berry's going to finally get her spin-off movie.
Exactly. We'll do that.
Be like a Deadpool Wolverine situation. It's like, we finally get to have an ending.
Exactly. We'll do that. You'll get James Bond Jr., the live action, not the cartoon. You'll oversaturate M's origin story, right? Q's origin story.
And these are all going to be like 6-episode miniseries on
Amazon Prime.
They're like not even going to be movies.
Exactly. That's what we're going to bring back James Bond Jr., the cartoon, and then you're going to get the live action James Bond Jr., and that's probably what's going to happen. But the right having a complete meltdown over the fact that they just said exotic and fresh. When for the last, how many Craig movies were there? 4, 5, I forget. 4, hang on. Casino Royale, and then the Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and Spectra, and then the 5. Okay, got it. Okay. So, yes, 2 of them were good. So, but really, that's what they were doing the last 5 movies, guys. That's what they were doing. So can we wait before we have the outrage machine? That's what I think we should be doing in this case, my friends. Then you can freak out if they do it. If they do it, we'll be the first ones doing it. Mike and I will be very upset. But just give it a second. Chill. You must chill. Lots more to do. Oh, wait, Mike's turned on his light.
I was just going to say, it just feels like sometimes when we talk about these kind of outrage stories, like the right wants it. We want the outrage. No, I just want the good content. Yes. I don't want to be mad about bad content. I just want good content.
You know what? You give me a Henry Cavill as James Bond. I'm happy. You give me a Henry Cavill and you give me some good stuff with that, I will be happy. Plus, I'll be great. If he actually was Ian Fleming in one movie and then he's James Bond in another movie, oh, the IMDb trivia section will be all a Twitter. Yes, I know what I said there. So, don't forget, coming up at 4 o'clock, your chance to be part of the golden age of America. Listen for that keyword coming up next at 4 o'clock. Plus, we are also going to be discussing the latest insanity, how Democrats want to tax your EV because you don't pay the gas tax. Don't say I didn't warn you. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Brandy Cruz joins us to talk about the Washington legislature. California and Oregon are getting smarter while Washington is doubling down on dumb. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is time for your chance to be part of the golden age of America.
I can proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us. The golden age of America, I call it, it's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be.
Exactly.
This will be America's new golden age.
Yes, it will be. It will be our golden age of America, and here's how you can be
We're
part
going to usher in a new golden age of American success.
Here's how you get to be part of the golden age, my friends. Now, hang on. We need to do a primer because yesterday some of you had some challenges, okay? We need to talk about this for a second. Yesterday, I said the word. And yes, the word sounded like other words, but you guys wrote every other word after I spelled it for you and used it in a sentence. So can we not do that today? I want you to be part of the golden age of America. I want you to win the $2,050. I want you to win the $50 Daniels Broiler gift card. I want you to win. But if you don't follow directions, you ain't gonna win. So here's what we're gonna do, my friends. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you the word. You are going to text the word. You are not going to call us. You are not going to text your phone number. You're not going to text your address. You're not going to text anything else except for the word itself to the number I give you. And that word, nothing that rhymes with the word. Okay? That's what we're going to do today. So, to be part of the golden age of America, for your chance to win $2,050, a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, you have to text the word VOTE. That's VOTE, as in vote to change Washington, as in vote for J.D. Vance in 2028, as in don't vote for Democrats ever again after what they're doing to you. You vote. Text the word VOTE, VOTE, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Your next chance at winning comes Monday morning during the brand new KVI's Morning Ride, which is premiering at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Monday morning. Your next chance to win is coming up at 8 a.m. Monday morning. Remember, you have until 5 o'clock to text the keyword VOTE, VOTE, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Thank you to our sponsor, Daniels Broiler. Remember to head on over to danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout delivery order, and more.
I can proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us.
Exactly right, my friends. Golden age of America is upon us, and you get to be part of it. My friends, President Trump, I want to thank you for giving us the golden age of America, for all of us to be part of it.
Well, and thank you, Ari. You do an incredible job and such an important voice. Thank you very much, Ari.
Well, Mr. President, I wasn't expecting to speak to you today, but that was so kind of you to pop in. I know how valuable your time is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Scott in Issaquah. Scott, what's up, man?
Hey, well, I just want to say that I think the Democrats are doing what they always do. They're blaming Trump's policies for, all their spending, all the reckless decisions they've made over the last 25, 30 years that have actually brought us to this point to where the country, if Kamala had gotten in there, all of this still would have happened. Everything that Biden did still would have created most of this. The tariffs are doing very minimal of it, and it's just temporary. And that's all I want to say is that they blame COVID, they blame the tariffs. And it's really just their policies. And they brought this country to its knees. This country's ready to collapse and fall apart. And they're sitting there worried about a few Chinese stocks that collapse because investors got smart and pulled their money out.
Yeah, And we're going to watch and we're going to see what happens. We see great news from the jobs report. We see great news from the manufacturing sector. And what's fascinating is over on the text line, everybody's saying, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. Let me know what you think, by the way. Give us a call, 206-421-5757, or text us at 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Bill in Maple Valley. Bill, what's up, man?
Oh.
Hello, Bill. Did we lose Bill? I think we lost Bill. Oh, you there, Bill? Is that you? Going once.
Joe from Maple Valley.
Yes, go, Bill.
Hello?
Go ahead. What's up, man?
Hey, what is money?
What is money? It's green stuff and change. What are we talking about here?
Money is what is an exchange for labor and goods. It is not something you rub together to make more money.
Yes.
And the other thing is, do you know that gold has never gone up in value?
Lego has gone up in value more than gold has, my friend. So, yes, I say we should all switch over to the Lego standard, or maybe switch over to other toy standards, because it seems to be a better indicator of what's going on in the economy, especially because a lot of these toys are made in Vietnam. Oh, and Mike, good news for you. I don't know if you saw this. Mike's going to be happy. U.S. and Vietnam are very, very close to a tariff-free deal because of the trade war. Mike's jumping up and down in the booth right now. He's very, very excited. Bill, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. Now, I saw that news this morning. I completely forgot to tell you, but yes, the first company that may have zero tariffs with the U.S. might actually be Vietnam out of this whole thing.
Yeah, and that would be very good for me, because like when the whole tariffs trade war thing started, you asked me, you're like, well, does this affect you? Meaning my toy collecting hobby. You're like, and like you were concerned, like as if like it's like, oh, buddy, you're going to be okay. And I'm like, you know what? China, Canada, whatever, that's fine. You know what? Hasbro makes most of their stuff in Vietnam anyway. And then fast forward to Wednesday, I think it was, and I'm like, oh, I came in with like a pale face. I'm like, oh man, 46% tariff on imports coming in from Vietnam. I don't know about this. And that kind of spread through the toy collecting community like wildfire. Like people were already doing like mathematical computations of like what the price increase for every class of action figure would be. It's like,
so
this is what your Star Wars figures are going to cost. This is what your Transformers are going to cost. That kind of thing. And at a time, thanks to Joe Biden's inflation, prices of toys have been going up incrementally.
Mm-hmm.
And you add tariffs on top of that, that's going to price a lot of people out of the hobby. So I'm hoping this gets resolved very quickly.
So explain something to me, because I'm trying to understand it. I don't know your fandom as well as I used to. So back when I was collecting G.I. Joes and stuff. So with regard to this, is this because they used to make a lot of rubber in Vietnam and a lot of that is used like the same manufacturing process, the same materials? We're getting a lot of that stuff, or is it just cheaper to make the toys there?
I think it's actually just cheaper there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vietnam is actually cheaper than China.
Gotcha. So that's why they're making
Which probably means their labor's a lot cheaper also.
You mean some kid's getting a bowl of rice to make your toy, and then he's sending the toy to you, and the kid doesn't get the toy? Is that
I think so. But we try not to talk about that.
We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about
robot toys are cool.
Right, exactly. We don't want to talk about
Joes are cool.
Yeah, like the kid's going, I just want food. Right. Why does somebody want this robot action? Yeah. What is this thing?
Yeah,
These Americans are dumb.
Meanwhile, some numbskull kid-old entitled collector is like, oh man, these paint apps are ass. It's like, man, just do another ink wash on the joints here. I want to see all the panel lines and stuff.
Oh God, we should not be making fun of this situation, but this is probably exactly what it is.
But also, toy collectors are like amongst the most obnoxious, entitled folks you will ever meet. We are snobby about the stupidest things.
So, Mike, you have to send them the Vietnam article. I'll find it for you and send it on over to you.
I will gladly share that in my toy groups.
There you go. Sure. You send it on over. Yeah, it looks like they're going to be the first country. They're finalizing the deal right now, but it looks like it's going to be Vietnam's going to be number one. I think it was on Fox, Mike. I don't remember if it's on the outline or not, but yeah, I'll make sure you see that. I saw it today, and I go, I got to send this to Mike right away. Always looking out for my friend. That's
Thanks,
what we
buddy.
do.
Appreciate you.
You got that. Now, mind you, the Democrats are always looking out for ways to steal your tax money, which is what is the newest scheme they have. So what they tell you, oh, Get an EV, and then you never have to pay for gas again or gas taxes or anything else. Now they realize they told everybody they're never going to have to pay a gas tax again. Oh, but don't worry, they found a solution for that.
The Washington House passed their version of a transportation budget this afternoon. As we previously told you last week, lawmakers are considering a wide variety of ways to close a $1 billion gap in funding.
Reporter Albert James has a closer look at one of the proposed fees that could hit you depending on how efficient your car is.
The transportation system, a good, well-conditioned transportation system, doesn't come for free.
House Transportation Chair Democrat Jake Five Tacoma says transportation project costs have gone up while revenue from gas taxes has gone down. Aside from an increase in the gas tax and other car-related fees, he's proposing a new highway use fee to bring in more revenue for transportation projects. The fee would be collected when a driver renews their registration and calculated using a formula based on a car's combined fuel economy rating, with more fuel-efficient cars paying a higher fee.
The top range is maybe $75 to $100 if you get a very, very efficient vehicle.
Wait a minute. Did Fox 13 just have a report saying the more fuel efficient your vehicle is, the Democrats are going to penalize you because you're not buying as much gas? Wow. This is the first time ever I'm proud of my gas guzzler. That's right, baby, because they're not going to put that tax on me. Oh, wait, I'm still paying the gas tax. But two things are certain in life, my friends: death and taxes. And because they pushed for these fuel-efficient vehicles, now they're not getting as much gas tax. And they don't know what to do with themselves, so they're going to tax your car for being efficient.
But if you're like at 27 miles per gallon, it's probably maybe $10-15.
The fee is similar to FI's previous road usage charge proposal, which would have annually charged people based on how much they drive. He argues with gas tax revenues falling because of how efficient cars have become, the highway use fee targets those who get to fill up less often and therefore pay less to preserve roads.
It's basically a way to offset the losses from our gas tax revenue. And from the very people that are benefiting from the efficiency, but not paying their fair share of the cost to maintain the transportation system.
Not paying your fair share. So let me make sure I got this. Democrats tell you, buy more fuel-efficient vehicles. We need to make more fuel-efficient vehicles. Buy EVs, but you're not paying your fair share. So it's not the millionaires and billionaires anymore. Now it's you, EV people, which means you're going after your own voting base. You're going after the Democrats. By the way, the dirty secret on when you buy an EV is there's a massive tax that is already levied against EVs because you won't be paying the gas tax. So when I say this, Mike, when Inslee mandated that we had to stop selling the gas-powered cars by such and such a year, I said they were going to find a way to get their money and forget this pay-by-mile business. What have they concocted? Well, now the more fuel-efficient your vehicle is, we're going to increase your registration fees every single year. Ha-ha! I don't register my vehicles because I voted for $30 car tabs. So, I hate to laugh about this, but do you realize it's not pay per mile? What they're going to do is increase your fees the more efficient your car is. So Sound Transit has this weird math where your car appreciates in value. It's the only place in the world where a car appreciates in value after it leaves the showroom so they can keep gouging you. Now they have a new formula that the more fuel efficient your vehicle is, the more they are going to gouge you on pricing. Wow. Just wow.
The fee wouldn't apply to cars that get less than 25 miles per gallon and those that are electric or a plug-in hybrid. Instead, electric cars have their own registration and renewal fees that would now be increased by inflation.
It's very straightforward, very easy to do, so something that may be taken into consideration over time.
So hang on. Okay, hang on. Let me make sure I got this. The electric cars are getting assessed their own fee. Yeah, I know some of you were thinking that audio going, oh, good. If it's less than 25 miles per gallon, we're going to be perfectly fine because I don't have gallons. No, my friends. So instead of the pay per mile, This is the new scam they have figured out?
Republican ranking member Andrew Barkis previously said the highway use fee was a better alternative to a road usage charge. But while new revenue is needed, he argued any new fees or increased taxes would come at a bad time for affordability.
It's not just a gas tax. It's a highway user fee that's built in. There's weight fees. There's sales tax increases. It's about 10 different pieces of fees and taxation that are going to be imposed in order to make this budget work.
A committee vote for the highway use fee has not yet been scheduled. In Olympia, I'm Albert James reporting.
Well, everybody who has your EV that voted for Democrats, congratulations. The people you voted into office just screwed all of you. And somehow...
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Exactly right. Thank you, DJ Khaled. That's who that is, right? Okay, just making sure. See, I know a little thing about relatively new pop culture. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Jason in Auburn. Jason, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari. Let me qualify this because I have a dog in the fight.
Okay.
I'm an American, born and raised Washingtonian. A couple of years ago, I married a beautiful Vietnamese woman and got a package deal, got my wife and a son. I've been to Vietnam 3 times now, and my couch is from Vietnam. My shower curtain is from Vietnam. My clothes are from, my 511 tactical that I wear to work are made in Vietnam. When I was in Vietnam, all of their advertising shows Caucasian or European models. And I'm with my wife, and I'm going, I don't get it. We're in Vietnam. Why are we advertising for this? So I went into one of the stores, talked to the person, and said, don't you want to advertise with your own people so you can show that you're doing something? She says, no. We specifically target the American, European market, post the banners all over the sides, the billboards, things like that. And we do it so they show their countrymen that their products that they manufacture are sold around the world, and they're making a difference. They're making a bigger footprint in a world market.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Yes.
You know, this is something I heard at KVI News at the top of the hour. They were discussing who buys what, et cetera. Lars was talking about it a little while ago, who buys what. And it makes great sense because Americans, we love to buy stuff. The amount of money we spend on stuff is insane, and everybody wants us as customers. And that's the best thing Donald Trump has going for him, that we want everybody else's stuff to buy. So if we're actually going to win this thing, that's the way to do it. Jason, great information. Thanks for being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Eric in Renton. Eric, what's up, man?
Hey, since COVID hit, and then a lot of people stayed home from work, and a lot of people started working from home, and I still think there's a lot of people working from home because in the office there's one person who will never come back to the office that works in my company, and then a lot of people are like working from home 2-3 days a week, maybe come in maybe for part of the day.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a big reason why gas taxes haven't gained the revenue for the state is because a lot less people are there's a still good chunk of people that are staying home.
I had a friend who told me that he hadn't driven his car in 2 years during COVID. And I said, well, you didn't check the oils. You didn't drain them beforehand. You're going to have trouble. Is your battery dead? I mean, a lot of people are driving a lot less. My wife's car is lucky if it gets 5,000 miles a year because she's been working from home most of this time. Thursday is my least favorite day to drive because for whatever reason, Thursday the day, everybody's back at work. Wednesday and Thursday suck for driving around here. But you're 100% right. That has probably also affected their revenue, something they didn't realize when they sent everybody home. Eric, excellent points. KVI Nation, you guys are great today. This is fantastic. Let's keep it going. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Don in Snoqualmie. Don, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari. Nice chatting with you today. Hey, listen, I had a question for you. I was listening earlier today. There was this trip that was planned. The Democrats were planning to go to the border.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you had any update on that.
Well, sir, they went to the border today and they looked around and nobody paid any attention. Do you know why that is? Take a guess.
Well, because it's called fake news.
Well, they went, but it was secure. So what are they going to complain about? They went down there for a PR stunt, and nobody cared because they should have gone 3 years ago. They should have gone 2 years ago.
They probably want to take credit for what Trump is doing.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what they want to do. And guess what? Nobody even knows. You want to know how bad the coverage was of their trip? I'm not even sure which ones went down there. I just saw one post on social media, which was a picture of nobody I recognized and saying, Democrats went to the border today, which is amazing. Don, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, California and Oregon, my friends, are getting so much smarter. But unfortunately, Washington is only getting dumber. We'll tell you the corrections our neighbors to the south are making when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The Oregon House of Representatives unanimously passed a bill yesterday that would allow property owners and landlords to evict a squatter after giving 24-hour notice. My God, can you imagine if we did that here? So thanks to COVID, all these people took advantage of the bleeding heart liberals, the people who are so open-minded their brains fell out, who run our government. And what'd they do? They said, hey, you know what? If we don't have to pay rent, we're just going to stay here until they kick us out. And since they can't kick us out, we're just going to stay here even longer. And then, oh, wait, the King County is going to give us lawyers? Washington State is going to give us lawyers? The King County Bar Association is going to give us lawyers? Oh, we could do this for 2-3 years. We had Jaskaran Singh on the show who was talking about what that guy squatted in his rental for 2 years. They didn't want to do anything about it. Do you realize what that was? That was their first draft at rent control. It was, well, we don't want these people to go homeless. Instead, they invited every scammer in the universe. And as I talk about rent control, I know plenty of people are scamming rent control in New York. It's what they do. People find ways around it. I'm not saying it's right, but that's what they do. And that's what's going to happen here if they pass the stupid rent control stuff. But Oregon's being smarter. And Oregon says if you are squatting on the property, you shouldn't have to sue and then get the sheriff and sue and sue. Look at that story we did about Steve Hickey, the stringer who does all the video stuff. You know how long it took those people to get him out of the house? It was time after time after time. Then the King County Sheriff wasn't available. Then they had to go back again, time after time. Legal bills, legal bills, legal bills. Nobody's going to want to be a landlord in Washington State anymore by the time the Democrats are done with it. So they are being smart. They are wising up. Yes, exactly right. So here's something else. The Trump administration is now saying we want a new approach to homelessness, and they're saying we want treatment. We want to force people into treatment because this is not a homeless problem. This is a drug problem. This is a mental health problem. This is a crime problem, too, on top of all that. Makes perfect sense. That's exactly what they want to do. Trump had said, our once great cities have become unlivable, unsanitary nightmares in a campaign video. For those who are severely mentally ill, deeply disturbed, we will bring them to mental institutions where they belong, with the goal of reintegrating them back into society when they are well enough to manage. Yeah, no more housing first nonsense. Now, I love how the Oregonian is portraying this like this is a bad thing. No, this is a great thing. You want an example? Dow Constantine, Bruce Harrell, Jay Inslee, Bob Ferguson, Nick Brown, they all believe in the housing first model. And homelessness has only gotten worse and worse. What's the housing first model? Oh, let's just buy houses for everyone and everything's going to be okay. How's that worked out? Well, there are some people who are too mentally deranged to even go to the housing. There are people who are too high on drugs to go to the housing. And on top of that, it's not working. Why? Because they can't live responsibly in these places, and they're still committing crimes to feed their drug habits because you haven't gotten them off the product. And in the meantime, anytime you open one of these homeless hotels like the one you're going to be opening in Kirkland, the La Quinta, the former La Quinta hotel out there, that you guys are going to be doing that, you destroy businesses, you destroy neighborhoods. That's what you're doing. So Bruce Harrell has a different approach. You know what Bruce Harrell's approach is? And this is the same thing as when he was on council. It's whack-a-mole. It's, can we just move them around? Oh, they complain here, we'll get rid of that one. Oh, they complain there, we get rid of that one. It's never actually address the problem. So Como News had the story a couple days ago that complaints about a homeless camp had been mounting for weeks, and on Wednesday, crews with the city of Seattle moved in to clear it out. Neighbors who had been asking for help said the problem was that the same people in their tents popped up just 2 blocks away. The original encampment stretched across the sidewalks on Leary Avenue Northwest to Northwest Dock Place, and neighbors had said had been in place for the last 2 to 3 months. Tents and makeshift shelters stretched down both sides of the streets into a construction zone. City workers showed up Wednesday morning to begin loading debris into a series of trucks while outreach teams made final offers for help. At the same time, about 10 homeless people packed up their belongings and many started walking away. That should have been your first clue. What'd they do? Just went a few blocks over. This is what was going on the entire time Bruce Harrell was in office as a city council member, and it looks like that's his policy here again. He's doing the exact same thing. We'll go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Bruce in Kirkland. Bruce, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, you were talking about Sound Transit going after more and more money from us. I wish they would just get out on the street and start enforcing the tabs. I drive on the east side. I live in Kirkland, and I see so many cars with tabs that have been expired for a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years. That's a lot of revenue they're giving up.
But don't encourage. Wait, hang on. Don't encourage that. My tabs are expired because I ain't paying for that. Because here's the thing, right? We voted for $30 car tabs, but here's a different problem. Okay, let me give you this one, Bruce. Let me give you the actual numbers for a second, as opposed to me being me. So let me give you this for a second. How much revenue do you think? What percentage of revenue do you think comes in from fares that pay for Sound Transit? What percentage do you think?
Oh, probably 2%.
It is exactly 2%. Now, as I say all the time, the rest of that, the majority is not from the car tabs or anything else. A lot of it comes from government subsidies. It's not advertising, which, by the way, they have a whole bunch of real estate now that they got all those overpasses and they got the trains going everywhere. It's not advertising. The people on the train mostly aren't paying for this thing. So instead, they're doing the car tab thing. And that's insane, by the way. Now, the problem is you keep pricing people, hoping they're going to start taking transit instead. Well, then that's going to end up like this. What are you going to do? Start increasing the fees on the people taking the train? So while I agree with you, people should be paying their car tabs at the same time, why do I have to suffer this for something I never ever ride?
Well, I agree with you on that point, but it's just a matter of equity. I drive around in an 8-year-old Subaru, and I see people in BMWs and Jaguars and Cadillacs that are much newer, and they just don't pay their tabs. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Maybe they're a little stretched.
Well, it's also people like me who just go, why? You pull me over, and I'm going to say, hey, I voted for $30 car tabs, and then I'm going to identify as a homeless person. Because then I get out of the tab. Look, I agree with you. You're doing the right thing. You are doing the right thing, Bruce. And anytime I mention that I don't pay for my car tabs, the lines blow up with people yelling at me, Ari, we're supposed to follow the rules and stuff, okay? Bruce, you are 100% right. But here's something else. How can we actually enforce them if we don't have cops on the roads?
Well, I figure because the Sound Transit police aren't doing a very good job of keeping the drug users and bums off of the trains, they could be put back in squad cars and go out and be like revenue officers. And they could go out and look for them.
We could give it a go. Bruce, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. Very quickly, we go to Bill in Tacoma. Bill, what's up, man?
Hey, I was just listening to you, and I'm ex-Navy, and also so most of my adult life is a merchant mariner.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world, and on vacations, when I'm working half the year, making really good money, I spend the other half of the year overseas where living's cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where a lot of things we went wrong with a lot of these places is Hollywood. We gave these people in these third world countries, these people who have nothing, this view of what it's like to live in these humongous, beautiful houses with all these incredibly stupid white people problems and black people problems that we have in America.
Yeah.
Which have nothing to do with people who don't have the concept of even toilet paper because they don't do that.
Well, I'm not sure they're seeing movies either, but you're right, because through culture, whatever the culture is, what all these people say, you know why New York had the big problem? Because when they showed up during the Biden administration said, where do you want to live? And people just said New York because it's the only city they heard of. How many cities can I actually name in Mexico? You're right, Bill. I think that had a huge, huge part of the problem was actually Hollywood, aside from all the things they push all the time. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Brandy Cruz will be joining us to catch us up on the latest insanity coming at you out of Olympia you haven't heard about because they're trying to ban reporters. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card and tickets to the Washington State Spring Fair. But before we get to any of that, people are freaking out after the stock market plunged over 2,000 points today. And I get that. But there are indicators that what's happening is exactly what Donald Trump said. It's going to be rough till we sort this out, and then things are going to get better. Here's the other news that kind of got overshadowed today was the jobs report. Give a listen.
This is a big March jobs report. Non-farm payrolls beats estimates, 228,000 jobs. That would be the strongest this year, and it would comp to 323,000 in D's of last year.
So you have over 228,000 new jobs that are all actually in the real sector, not in the government sector. And also that accounts for the fact of how many federal employees got laid off, and you still had an increase. Wonder what the Secretary of Labor has to say about this.
I can tell you this right now, what we're seeing was positive. We blew it out of the water. Even all the economists that looked at this thought we were going to have a depressed jobs report, and we didn't. So that's a testament to the president, the economic output that he is doing. Look at the Rose Garden that we had the other day. Who was in the audience? It was all the American workers. We had our Teamsters there. We had our United Auto Workers there. We're seeing those investments pay off, and I would expect that to continue.
So manufacturing is picking up. American companies are hiring more people, and that's good. But CNN had one of the oddest takes I've heard on this yet. It just seems like everybody's losing their minds. Give a listen.
We have some more breaking news now. The March jobs report just released moments ago telling us that the U.S. economy added a stronger than expected 228,000 jobs last month, and as the unemployment rate changed only slightly, now at 4.2%. Matt Egan, back with us. Okay, what does this mean?
Well, Kate, this is good news because it shows that the jobs market was in good shape in March. I think the bad news is there are growing fears that
this was March.
That this was March and that this unfortunately may not last because of the trade war. Let me run you through the numbers. 228,000 jobs added in March. Now, this was stronger than expected. This really blew away forecasts for around 130,000. Also, this represents an acceleration from January and from February, both of which were revised lower. The unemployment rate, it did tick higher to 4.2%. That was expected. When we dig into some of the sectors here, the one that everyone's paying a lot of attention to right now is the federal government. This report showed that federal government employment did fall by 4,000 in March. That follows a 10,000 drop in February. But we're likely just starting to see this in drips and drabs because a lot of people who were laid off, they're not yet collecting unemployment. So those numbers are likely to go even higher. Also, just one other point here on the cost of living. Wages were up again by a solid amount. It cooled a little bit, but wages were up by 3.8% year over year. That is well ahead of the most recent rate of inflation, which you can see was just below 3%. So that means paychecks are beating prices. But listen, the bottom line here is, yes, the jobs market looked pretty solid in March, but now the question is, can it make it through this test of the trade war, right? I mean, this jobs market has proven to be so resilient.
It's almost like the moment.
So wait a second. That kind of sounds like they were saying the only reason the jobs market was good was because so many people got laid off. That's not how the numbers work. It not only compensated for the people getting laid off, it grew on top of that. And also, did you hear the federal government layoffs? Those were not big numbers included. 10,000 last month, 4,000 this month. And most people go out and get another job in the private sector. So even without those, you still beat expectations. Okay, so it would have been 223,000 jobs as opposed to 228,000 jobs. So you guys aren't making any sense when you talk about this. You know who's really not making any sense? The Democrats. All they could do was bash Donald Trump, bash Donald Trump. So I just want to remind all of you that not too long ago, they were saying the exact same policies Donald Trump was. I say we fire up the DeLorean. We're going to do like what they did with the Millennium Falcon in that most recent Star Wars movie. We're going to go time skip jumping across. We're going to see all the different times the Democrats were supporting a tariff policy. And for that, my friends, we got a montage for you.
That's why today I'm announcing new tariffs in key sectors of the economy that are going to ensure that our workers are not held back by unfair trade practices.
In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. The China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. The fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser.
We had a tire case in which they were flooding us with cheap domestic tires. Or cheap Chinese tires. And we put a stop to it. And as a consequence, saved jobs throughout America. I have to say that Governor Romney criticized me for being too tough in that tire case. Said this wouldn't be good for American workers and that it would be protectionist. But I tell you, those workers don't feel that way. They feel as if they had finally an administration who was going to take this issue seriously.
Look, I think the president's doing the right thing. China has been taking advantage of us for two decades. They're stealing our intellectual property, which means stealing our good-paying jobs. And I, frankly, am closer on this issue, not on many, but on this issue with President Trump than I was with Presidents Bush or Obama, because they did nothing to tell China off. Now, China, of course, will respond. But if they know we're strong and we're not going to back off, they will back off. They have far more to lose than we do. They have a $300 billion trade surplus with us. So I'm looking out, number one, for jobs. You know, if General Electric moves jobs to China, they're not unhappy, but my New York workers in Schenectady are unhappy. And so you can't let the international business companies who don't give a hoot about where their factories are govern this. You have to do what's good for the American worker.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America, because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street, people who are making 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, health care, pensions, throw them out on the street, because somehow, Madam President, we are going to create wealth in America and good-paying jobs in America as we shut down plants, we move to China, corporations there pay workers 20, 30 cents an hour, and we bring the product back into this country. And anyone who goes shopping in a mall knows how difficult it is today to find the product made in America.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Seriously, guys, they were all saying the same things he's been saying years ago, and as recently as his last term in office. In fact, Joe Biden was saying it literally last year. That quote from Joe Biden at the very beginning of that montage was from 2024. Barack Obama was demanding free trade in 2018.
When it comes to the international system of commerce and trade, it's legitimate for poorer countries to continue to seek access to wealthier markets. And by the way, wealthier markets, that's not the big problem that you're having. A small African country is sending you tea and flowers. That's not your biggest economic challenge. It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity from nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets and that they stop taking intellectual property and hacking our servers.
Yeah, everybody backed him then. They're laughing along with him and saying this is ridiculous. Hey, what about all the tariffs he put on China in 2012? Did the left forget about that?
We had a tire case in which they were flooding us with cheap domestic tires.
Exactly. That's why he did it. Hey, you remember what Karine Jean-Pierre was saying literally last year?
The president directed his trade representative to increase tariffs under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 on $18 billion of imports from China. This action will protect American workers and businesses from China's unfair trade practices. As you heard, the president often say American workers and businesses can outcompete anyone.
What a clown. What an absolute clown. Because literally, we are doing the exact same thing they all praise. Now, you could say these are Democrat policies, and the Democrats are only hating them because it's the orange man doing them. But the union workers seem to be supporting all this. They're the ones who are saying, yes, we need to fix this. Yes, we need to fix the economy. Yes, we need the jobs coming back to America. We need the production coming back to America. Last time I checked, it was close to $7 trillion in investments in America. Now, it's going to take time for those things to shake out, but it's all heading in the right direction. The stock market is only one indicator. Now, mind you, that's very easy for me to say. Oh, the stock market's only one indicator when you're watching your 401k erase today. And I don't want to make light of that, but I want to know from you. Are you staying the course, or are you upset about what's going on right now? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Because don't forget, a lot of the reason we're doing this is also not just because of trade, because we want free and equal trade, but also because we want people securing our borders. Anytime you mention securing the borders, the left absolutely loses it. Funny, because this was the left back in 1995.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
That was during Bill Clinton's 1995 State of the Union address. Do you remember what all the rage was back then? Somebody was found to have an illegal immigrant housekeeper. Do you remember that insanity? It was magazine covers. They found out her housekeeper, her gardener, was an illegal immigrant. By the way, Hillary Clinton made an appearance the other day. What she said isn't important, but you know what I think she's trying to do? Become head of the Democratic Party. She says, oh, they have no options for leadership. What, they got Gavin Newsom? He just let the state burn to the ground. What, they got Pete Buttigieg? Have you seen the memes about that guy? I wonder if Hillary Clinton thinks this is her moment to try again. Which is beyond fascinating, by the way, that she may even think that way. She only pops her head up when she thinks that the party needs a little bit of guidance or people will turn to her. So she pops her head up to comment on trade wars and stuff. Oh, please, give me a break. A lot of this stuff is because your husband opened up so much of this trade nonsense and let us get to this position and shipped so many jobs overseas. You guys created this mess. In fact, you made the mess so bad that now Brian Panbaker, who's a retired 25-year UAW member, is talking about how great Trump is doing. That's a UAW guy, one of the Democrat unions.
4 or 5 years to build an auto plant, not even close. There are idled plants. They closed an engine plant in Macomb County a couple of years ago. It's in Romeo, Michigan. You can check into it. It's sitting idle. It's like a vacant warehouse. They've stripped the old tooling out of there. It's ready for new tooling to be put in. They could have that plant up and running inside of 6 months. So I think you're being overly pessimistic when you start saying, 3, 4, 5 years. No, how about a year to 2 years on new plants and 6 months to a year on retooling existing idle plants? Look at what Stellantis just announced in Belvidere, Illinois. They had that idled plant. They probably weren't putting a new product in there if Kamala Harris got in. Why? Because they're going to phase out combustion engines. But all of a sudden, Trump gets elected, bang, they're putting a new pickup truck in there. So I'm very optimistic, very confident in President Trump's agenda.
He wasn't the only one. Here's the CEO of Ford earlier today.
Can Ford produce a car 100% made in the United States?
Well, hello, Stuart. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You know, Ford is America's #1 auto manufacturer, and we assemble more U.S. vehicles, and we employ more U.S. hourly auto workers than any other OEM. And we want to do more, not less, here in the U.S. 80% of what we sell in the U.S. is assembled right here in the United States. And it would be helpful to have certain parts here in the U.S., and the White House gets that.
Of course it would be. By the way, all anybody ever talks about is cars, right? Where are the cars, cars, cars? People forget about other industries. When's the last time you thought about where your fish came from? When's the last time you thought about where your shrimp came from? Well, Fox News went and interviewed some shrimpers today.
The shrimpers here like tariffs because they say they will save their jobs and save their entire industry. We have to remember that more than 90% of shrimp consumed in the United States is imported from overseas, and the American shrimpers say they just can't compete. Let's bring in Leanne Bosarge, who is the 5th generation of her family to be involved in the commercial fishing industry. Leanne, what would happen to American shrimping without tariffs?
Well, the U.S. domestic shrimp industry has been on a downward trajectory for decades now as a direct result of the unfair trade in the overseas aquaculture industry for growing shrimp overseas. And these tariffs threw us the lifeline that we needed to hopefully live to fight another day in our industry in this country.
So the left hates the average worker. Look what they've done to the unions. Look what they've done to the average worker. They hate them. And the average worker is saying they back Donald Trump. These industries are saying they back Donald Trump. It's easy for me to sit here in my radio station and not look at my 401k because I'm not retiring tomorrow. And I got time. I want to know what you think. You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Stay the course. Have you lost faith? Is it wait and see? Let us know. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. 5757. When we come back, my friends, our friend John Carlson signed off for the final time earlier today. We're going to talk about some of our favorite John memories and take some of yours. But before we get to any of that, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Washington State Spring Fair. Yet another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. You know, when I first got on the radio, and people know I live in Seattle, they would always say to me, "Are you on KACL?" And I would always say, "No." And I would think to myself, I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? I didn't watch Frasier. That was Frasier's station. That was the network Frasier is on. Obviously, it does not exist here in Seattle. In fact, the view from Frasier's apartment does not exist. It's one of the facts they tell you from the Seattle Space Needle, and anybody who knows Seattle knows that. However, I didn't watch Frasier. I watched Cheers a little bit. My wife loved Frasier. I don't remember why I watched the last episode of Frasier, but I saw the last episode of Frasier. And the last one is when Kelsey Grammer's signing off for the last time, Frasier Crane. You see everybody plastered against those windows where Roz usually is. You see them all back there watching. That kind of happened this morning. Everybody here from KVI was in that glass booth where Mike is right now, watching John Carlson, the Carlson family, doing John's last sign-off. And if you missed it, after his 30 years in radio, here's a little bit of what it was.
I not only want to thank the listeners, I want to thank a man who's not with us anymore, Shannon Sweat, who was one of the pioneers of Talk Radio 570 KVI. I want to thank all the people I've worked with over the years, including this great team we've got right now, Philip J. Vandervoort III, young Zach. They're going to be with you on Monday. Of course, the radio legend, Mark Christopher, Kevin Dodderell, who really is a great guy and a good friend as well. We've been blessed with a lot of wonderful people. This company has been wonderful to work with. They leave us alone because we come through for them. And I want to thank them for the opportunity as well. It's been a great, great career and a great experience. And like I said, I'm leaving the airwaves, but I'm not leaving the issues we all care so much about. I'm still going to be very involved. So thank you all very much for being with me all this time. And the commute has concluded.
Fires up the motorcycle one last time.
That's right. John and his motorcycle. There he goes. He literally drove his motorcycle out of the studio today. Right out that giant window you see me taking pictures of all the time. And there goes John.
There he goes. Bye, John.
Bye, John.
Been spending most of the day cleaning the rubber off of the floors and the carpets here.
But I will say this. It's really, really sad, but what a career. What a career. And young Zach's been collecting pictures all week. They've had a stack of them, and I peruse them occasionally when I would go by that stack of actually printed photographs. Yes, children, remember when we had, you wouldn't remember. We used to print out our photographs. We didn't have social media to post them up to. We had to actually print the photographs, take them to a developer. Yeah, maybe in an hour you'd have them back. They had these things called film. Used to have to take that in to be developed. I know, times have really changed. But what a career. What a career. Now, I unfortunately cannot be at John's retirement party today because of the Jewish Sabbath. Mike will be heading there as soon as the show's over. Everybody else from KVI will be there today, and some extra special guests for those of you who are on your way there. But if you are not going to be at the retirement party, I'll tell you what's going to be in my portion of the video. So there is going to be this video about John where I tell a few stories, and you get some other guests. I'm not going to give away the surprises for those of you who are on the way. But I will say this, and John, if you and your family are listening, change the channel. I'll never tell you that, but I'm telling you that right now because I want you to see the video. But I'm going to tell our audience right now what I said about John in the video. So I told a couple stories about John. One of the stories was the RNC story, where we make fun of John a lot about this one behind his back. But what this story is we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Not exactly known for its kosher food paradise, right? Not known for that at all. So we go to a grocery store to stock up because we got an Airbnb. And it was like Big Brother. It's me, young Zach, Jeff Pogela from Northwest News Radio, and John Carlson. Now, I got a rental car thinking to myself, I'll find kosher food. I'll go somewhere to get kosher food. Maybe I'll find a restaurant. Nah, I just ended up being everybody's chaperone. And that meant I had to get there early in the morning when John's show started. And that means I couldn't leave till Jeff Pogula was done at night. So basically, I was working 18-hour days. Actually, we all were. Me, Zach, and Pogula were. John was not, however. John was living his best life, going wherever he was, going back to the Airbnb, sleeping a little bit, enjoying time, enjoying all the sights and attractions, and good on him. Good on him. His last RNC as a radio host, good on him. What happened was we went to the grocery store, I think the first night it was there, to get stuff for the Airbnb. And I managed to find kosher fish. So I put the kosher fish in the fridge, and I left it there. And what happened was I bought exactly enough for dinner each night for myself. The rest of the time, I think I ate... I ate junk. I ate junk food I could find around that had labels, and I had Starbucks coffee. And that was really all I ate for 4 days. I lost 10 to 15 pounds over the RNC. That's how little I ate. But one night I come back, and my fish is gone. I go, I know I bought 4 for the 4 nights of this thing. And what do I find in its place but this saran-wrapped morsel of fish? I'm not blaming John, but young Zach and... Jeff were with me, but whatever. It's fine. It's okay, John. We'll let it go. And one of the reasons I don't have a big deal with it, because John's such a sweet guy. Today, downstairs in the lobby, the Army came out to do a tribute for John, to give John a whole bunch of awards because of the amount of stuff he does for the U.S. Army. The Salvation Army, John used to do a ton of stuff for. The Police Officers Foundation, the amount of charities that John Carlson does stuff for is really, really overwhelming. He does a lot of community service work. He is about trying to make people's lives better. And that's really, really wonderful. He did it for me one time, too. It was that, I remember, when was it? It was it was in November of 2023. So the Israeli government was going around showing the footage from October 7th. And we were organizing media showings so that they would understand what actually happened. And when I was trying to get the media to go to this thing, so many people said yes, and then their outlets wouldn't let them go. There were some people who said to me, Ari, you know what? I 100% back the cause. I get it. I just don't need those visions burned into my mind, which a lot of people said, which I totally understand. I hold no ill will towards them at all. None at all, because I don't want to have those images burned in my mind. John Carlson, when I called him, you know what he said? He said, we were raised that when something awful happens, we have to bear witness. We have to bear witness so that other generations will make sure it doesn't happen again. And of course I'll come. John Carlson came. He sat right next to me. Now, in this room, it's a conference room type deal. It's a U-shaped table. And members of the media are there, but it's mostly people like me, you know, podcasters and radio hosts and things of that nature. Mario Lotmore from the Linwood Times, things of that nature. And they have tissue boxes out on the table, so you know what you're in for. And the guy who's giving the video presentation from the Israeli consulate says, I'm not watching it. I haven't watched it. I've been showing it all over the place, but I'm not going to watch it because I know what's in it. I saw the aftermath of it. We're sitting there, and I'm obviously having a huge emotional reaction to this thing. John Carlson goes and throws his arm around me to be like, yeah, it's okay. Grown men don't really do that, right? We kind of don't. But John Carlson saw I was having a really rough time, and he was like making sure I was okay the whole time. John Carlson really is one of the sweetest people. He really, really is. He means well in everything he does. I can't say a bad word about John Carlson, except for my fish. I really can't say anything bad about John Carlson at all. I'm going to miss him so much. And I don't want to talk like he's going away. He's still going to be around here. He's still going to be in our area. He's not moving or something. So he's still going to be around. And the impact he has had on conservative talk radio, especially in this region, it's something that is immeasurable. The impact he has had on people's lives, the charity work he's done, incalculable, immeasurable. That is the John Carlson that I'm going to miss. That guy, not the radio host, but the guy who wanted to make people's lives better. Too many people get in this business and go, I want to have the biggest Twitter following, or I want to make money, or whatever it is. John Carlson did it because he really wanted to improve people's lives. And that's what I'm going to miss most. And coming up at 5:45 during our Good News giveaway, Phil, John's producer, is going to be coming on the show to tell us what you're going to get on Monday when you tune in for KVI. So make sure you're listening at 5:45, not just for fantabulous prizes, but also because so many of you have been asking, what's going to replace John Carlson? What are we doing on Monday? What's going to be there? Don't worry, my friends. It's going to be there. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. it will be there. When we come back, my friends, Lars Larson will be joining us. Lars will be unleashed, talking about tariffs, the impact they're having, and has Lars's faith been shaken in Donald Trump? We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.